I woke up one morning, and my baby was gone. The crib was empty, the blanket cold. My heart stopped. I screamed her name, but silence answered. At first, I thought someone broke in, a stranger, a thief. But then, I saw a note on the table in my mother-in-law's handwriting. She wrote, "You don't deserve her, she's mine now." I collapsed to the floor, shaking, broken. That day, I learned the deepest betrayal can come from family. When I first became a mother, my whole world changed. The moment I held my baby girl in my arms, I felt a love I had never known before. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, her soft cry filled the hospital room, and I whispered, "You are my everything." My husband stood beside me, his eyes wet with tears. He kissed my forehead, kissed the baby's little head, and said softly, "We are a family now." For a while, life felt perfect. We brought our baby home, painted her nursery in soft pink and white, filled it with toys and blankets, and spent every night watching her sleep. Sometimes I stayed awake just to hear her breathing, because I was afraid if I closed my eyes, I might lose her. My mother-in-law was also there, always there. She was one of the first people to hold the baby, even before some of my own relatives. She called her my little angel and smiled every time the baby looked at her. At first, I thought it was sweet. I told myself, she just loves her granddaughter. What could be wrong with that? She visited almost every day, bringing food, toys, or baby clothes. She said she just wanted to help. And in the beginning, I was grateful. I was a new mother. I was tired. I didn't know everything. So when she rocked the baby to sleep, or took her for a walk in the stroller, I thought it was kindness. I thought she was giving me time to rest. Family dinners became a new routine. We would all sit together in the living room, my husband, my mother-in-law, sometimes even neighbors or cousins. Everyone would pass the baby around, admiring her tiny nose, her soft hair, her innocent eyes. My mother-in-law often held her the longest, refusing to let her go. She would smile and say, "She feels so safe with me. She belongs in my arms." We all laughed. We thought it was just a grandmother's love. But sometimes when the baby cried in the middle of the night and I rushed to her crib, I would find my mother-in-law already there, holding her, rocking her in the dark. I asked myself quietly, how did she get inside so quickly? She said she had just come to check if we needed help, but it felt strange. Why was she always so close, even in moments I wanted to be alone with my child? I tried to ignore it. After all, she was family, she loved the baby, and I didn't want to seem ungrateful. But deep down, something didn't feel right. One afternoon, I was feeding the baby, singing softly. My mother-in-law entered the room quietly, stood at the doorway, and watched us. Her smile was there, but her eyes were not soft. There was something sharp in them, something I couldn't name, almost like envy or hunger. She walked closer, touched the baby's cheek, and said, "You don't know how lucky you are. Not every woman deserves a child like this." Her words stayed in my head. Not every woman deserves. What did she mean? At night, I told my husband about it. He laughed, shook his head, and said, "You're tired. You're reading too much into it. Mom just loves the baby, that's all." I wanted to believe him, so I forced myself to smile, to let it go. Still, small cracks began to show. At family gatherings, when people said, "She looks just like her mother," my mother-in-law quickly interrupted. No. She has my eyes, my nose, she's mine." People laughed, but I felt a knot in my stomach. Why was she so desperate to claim my child? Another time, I was at the park with the baby, and a woman asked if she was mine. Before I could answer, my mother-in-law quickly said, "She's mine," then corrected herself with a laugh. "I mean, she's my granddaughter." But the way she said it, the way she held the stroller tighter, it didn't feel like a joke. And then one night, something happened that I could never forget. I woke up around 2 a.m. The baby's cry filled the room. I rushed to the crib, but it was empty. My heart dropped. I looked around frantically until I saw her in the living room in my mother-in-law's arms. She was rocking the baby, whispering words I couldn't hear. When she saw me, her face tightened. She didn't hand the baby over right away. She held her closer, almost like she didn't want to let go. Finally, after a long silence, she gave her back to me and said quietly, "Don't worry, I'll always protect her." Her words sounded loving, but her tone was something else, something dark, something hidden. That night, as I held my baby tightly in my arms, I couldn't sleep. A thought entered my mind, a thought I didn't want to believe. What if one day she didn't give my baby back? The days passed, and my baby grew. Her first smile, her first laugh, her first tiny movements, every moment felt like magic. I wanted to capture everything, every sound, every look, every heartbeat. I often sat near the window with her in my arms, watching the sunlight fall across her face. I whispered stories to her, told her dreams about her future. I promised her, "I will always be here for you, no matter what." My husband and I tried to be good parents. We were young, still learning, still making mistakes, but our love for her was real. Sometimes we argued about little things like who would change the diaper or who would stay awake when she cried at night. But at the end of the day, we held each other and said, "We're in this together." And then there was my mother-in-law, always present, always watching. Sometimes she was helpful bringing meals, cleaning the house, rocking the baby to sleep. Other times, her presence felt heavy, like a shadow that followed me everywhere. I remember one afternoon, I was preparing milk for the baby. She stood beside me, watching closely. Then she shook her head and said, "You're not holding her bottle right, she'll choke." I felt a sting in my chest, like I was being judged, like I wasn't enough. I told her softly, "I'll manage. I'm her mother." But she smiled, a thin smile, and whispered, "Mothers can fail too." Her words didn't leave my mind. Mothers can fail too. Was she trying to say I was failing? When guests came to visit, they often said how beautiful my baby was. My mother-in-law always stepped forward, taking her from my arms before I could even answer. She paraded her around the room, saying, "Look at her, she's mine, my treasure." Everyone thought it was just grandmotherly love, but inside me, something twisted. I wanted to scream, "No, she's mine, she's my daughter." But the words never came out. At night, I started locking the nursery door. It made me feel safer, knowing my baby was right beside me, and no one could just walk in. But one evening when I went to check the lock, I noticed the door was already open, and my mother-in-law was inside, rocking the baby, humming a lullaby. I froze at the doorway. She didn't look surprised to see me. She just smiled and said, "She sleeps better with me. She knows who really cares for her." I wanted to believe it was harmless, but my heart told me otherwise. Her voice, her words, they sounded like ownership, not love. My husband continued to dismiss my worries. Whenever I told him, he said, "You're too stressed, you're imagining things. Mom only wants to help." I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe his mother meant no harm. But deep inside, fear started to grow. One weekend, we went to a family gathering at my husband's cousin's house. Everyone was excited to see the baby. They surrounded her with smiles and laughter. But my mother-in-law barely let anyone hold her. When one aunt reached out, she pulled the baby back and said, "Careful, she's delicate, not everyone can handle her." It was embarrassing. People exchanged looks, some even laughed nervously. But my mother-in-law didn't care. She held the baby tight, almost like a shield. Later that evening, I overheard her speaking to one of the relatives. She said, "If it were up to me, I would raise her myself. Young mothers don't always know what's best." The words pierced me. Young mothers don't know what's best. Was she talking about me? Was she planning something I couldn't see? I tried to push away my doubts, telling myself I was just tired, but the unease only grew stronger. Another night, I was half asleep when I heard faint whispers from the living room. I quietly got up, walked closer, and froze when I recognized the voice. It was my mother-in-law, rocking the baby, whispering softly. But what I heard shook me. She said, "One day, you'll understand you belong with me, not her." I gasped. The sound escaped before I could stop it. She looked up sharply, her eyes meeting mine in the dim light. There was no shame in her face, no guilt, only calm. She kissed the baby's forehead and said coldly, "Go back to sleep. I've got her." That night, I couldn't close my eyes. I lay awake, holding my pillow tight, staring at the crib. A thought kept running through my mind. What if one day she doesn't just hold her? What if one day she takes her away? The cracks in our happy family were no longer small. They were growing, spreading, and I knew something was about to break. Morning light filled the house, and with it came another day of watching, of pretending everything was fine. I tried to focus on the little joys, my baby's laughter, the way her tiny hand wrapped around my finger. But beneath those soft moments, there was a tension that never left me. My mother-in-law had started making decisions without asking me. She chose the baby's clothes, decided her feeding times, even told me which songs to sing to her. If I disagreed, she gave me a look, sharp and cold, as if to say, "You know nothing." One afternoon, I caught her on the phone with someone. She was speaking proudly. "Yes, she looks exactly like me. She's practically mine." Her voice was filled with ownership, not grandmotherly pride, but something deeper, something darker. When she noticed me standing there, she ended the call quickly and smiled. A smile that didn't reach her eyes. I started keeping the baby closer to me. I wore her in a sling while I cooked, carried her into the bathroom while I showered. I didn't want to give anyone a chance to take her from my sight. But my mother-in-law noticed, and she didn't like it. She cornered me one evening, her words cutting. "You're making her too dependent on you. Children need space. If you hold her too much, she'll never let go." I tried to respond calmly. "She's still so little. She needs me right now." But she leaned in closer, her whisper chilling. "Or maybe, you need her more than she needs you." Those words haunted me. Did she think I was weak? Or was she trying to convince me that I wasn't enough? At family dinners, She began introducing herself as if she were more than a grandmother. "This is my baby," she would say proudly. People laughed, thinking it was just affection. But every time, my chest tightened. My throat burned with words I couldn't speak. One night, I found her in the nursery again. The baby was sleeping peacefully, but my mother-in-law was sitting by the crib, stroking her hair, humming softly. I stood in the doorway, and for a moment, I thought she didn't see me. But then she spoke, her voice low, almost like a prayer. "You're safe with me one day. I'll take you far away from all this noise, and you'll thank me." My heart raced, my hands shook. I wanted to scream, to grab my baby and run, but I froze, my voice stuck in my throat. When I told my husband, he sighed heavily. "You're overreacting. Mom loves her granddaughter, that's all." I begged him to believe me, but he shook his head. "You're just tired, sleep more, it will help." Sleep? How could I sleep when every sound at night made me sit up in fear? Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind, made me wonder if she was sneaking into the room again. One day, when I returned from the store, I found my mother-in-law sitting on the couch, the baby in her lap. She was dressed in a little white gown, one I had never seen before. I asked quickly, "Where did this come from?" She smiled proudly. "I bought it. Doesn't she look like an angel?" She could be mine. The words sent a shiver down my spine. She could be mine. I tried to stay polite. I didn't want to cause a fight in front of my husband, but inside, I was screaming. The next week, I caught her rummaging through my closet. When I asked what she was doing, she simply said, "Looking for something the baby might need." But her eyes, they looked distant, like she was already imagining a life where she was the one raising her. I started writing in a journal, recording every strange thing she said, every odd action. It made me feel less crazy, like I was collecting proof. But proof for who? My husband wouldn't listen, and the rest of the family adored her. Then came the night that still makes my skin crawl. I woke up suddenly, a mother's instinct. The room was too quiet, the crib was too still. I jumped out of bed, and the crib was empty. My heart stopped. I ran to the living room, and there she was, my mother-in-law, rocking the baby, whispering softly. I shouted, "What are you doing?" "It's the middle of the night." She looked at me calmly, almost coldly, and said, "She sleeps better with me. She needs me, not you." I grabbed the baby from her arms, trembling, holding her tight. But my mother-in-law didn't argue, didn't fight. She just stood there staring at me, her eyes dark, unreadable. And then she whispered, "One day, you won't be able to stop me." The words cut through me like a blade. One day you won't be able to stop me. It was no longer a hint, no longer a shadow, it was a threat. That night, I knew with certainty something was going to break. The days that followed felt like walking on glass, every step sharp, every moment heavy with dread. I tried to pretend things were normal. I smiled when people visited. I laughed when my husband made jokes. But inside, I was counting every second, watching every shadow. My mother-in-law's presence grew stronger in the house. She started arriving unannounced, early mornings, late evenings. Sometimes I would wake up, and she was already there in the kitchen, humming as if she lived with us. When I asked why she came so often, she said softly, "Because she needs me, because I need her." I wanted to scream, "She's my daughter." But the words stayed locked inside me. I was afraid of making her more defensive, more determined. My husband remained blind to it all. Whenever I brought up my fears, he brushed them aside. "You're just imagining things. Mom is only helping." He even started suggesting that I should rest more, let his mother take over more tasks. It felt like betrayal from both sides. One afternoon, I returned from a short walk and found the nursery rearranged. The crib was in a new corner, the decorations replaced with old family photos of my husband's childhood. I gasped, "Who did this?" My mother-in-law stepped in behind me, her face calm. "I thought she should grow up surrounded by family memories. It's better this way." My voice shook. "You should have asked me." Her reply was chilling. "Mothers know what's best, and I am a mother too." The boundary lines were gone, erased by her quiet persistence. Each day, she acted less like a visitor and more like the child's parent. And no one seemed to notice, except me. At night, I started locking the bedroom door, keeping the baby's crib closer to me. But even then, I couldn't rest. Her words echoed in my mind. "One day, you won't be able to stop me." Then came the family gathering that sealed my fear. It was a sunny afternoon, relatives filling the house with laughter and chatter. My mother-in-law carried the baby proudly, introducing her to everyone. She held her tightly, as if she owned her. When someone joked, "She looks more like her mother every day," my mother-in-law snapped quickly, "She looks like me, not her." The room went silent for a moment. People laughed awkwardly, but I felt my stomach twist. Later, when no one was watching, she whispered in my ear, "I love her more than you ever could." Her words were like poison, sweet on the surface, deadly underneath. I tried to confront her one evening. I needed answers. I asked directly, Why do you keep saying she's yours? Her smile was calm, too calm, because she is. I see myself in her. My blood runs in her veins. I was a mother before you. I know how to raise her better than you ever will. I froze, my throat dry. It wasn't just affection anymore, it was obsession. I thought about leaving, packing a bag, and taking my baby somewhere safe. But how? With no support from my husband, no proof that she was dangerous. I felt trapped. If I ran, would anyone even believe me? That night, I dreamed of losing my baby, of waking to an empty crib. The dream felt too real, too close. When I woke up, sweat drenched my skin. My heart raced. And then, I noticed something chilling. The window in the nursery was slightly open, the curtains swaying in the night breeze. I knew I had closed it. My hands trembled as I checked the crib. My baby was still there, safe, sleeping peacefully. But in the corner of the room, on the floor, was one of my mother-in-law's scarves. I picked it up slowly, my blood running cold. She had been here in the middle of the night, again. I clutched my baby close, rocking her as tears blurred my vision. I whispered, "I won't let her take you. I promise." But deep down, a voice whispered back, "Can you really stop her?" The walls of my home no longer felt safe, the air heavy with secrets, with footsteps I didn't trust. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't relax. Every smile my mother-in-law gave me felt like a mask, hiding something darker. Every word she spoke felt like a warning. And then came the moment I will never forget. One evening, as I tucked my baby into bed, I caught her staring at me from the doorway. Her eyes didn't blink, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke in a whisper that made my heart pound. "You can try to keep her close, but she belongs with me." I wanted to scream, to push her out, to lock every door. But instead, I froze, my body heavy with fear. I held my baby tighter, feeling the distance grow wider between me and the family I thought I could trust. And as that night ended, I knew the break was coming. The line between fear and reality, between threats and actions, was vanishing. And soon something would happen, something I might never be able to undo. It happened on a morning that began like any other. The sun crept through the curtains. The house was quiet, too quiet. I rolled over in bed, stretched, then reached for the crib beside me. Empty. My breath caught in my throat, my chest tightened. I touched the blanket, cold, lifeless. At first, I thought maybe my husband had taken her out to the living room, but when I called his name, there was no answer. Panic spread through me like fire. I ran to the nursery, nothing. The crib stood there untouched. Her tiny toys scattered, her blanket folded, but no baby. My hands shook as I tore through the house, opening doors, searching corners. I screamed her name, again and again. Silence answered me back. I dropped to my knees, my body trembling, tears blinding my eyes. 1,000 thoughts crashed through my mind. Had someone broken in? Had she been kidnapped? Was this a nightmare? Then, I saw it. On the kitchen table, a folded note, written in a handwriting I knew too well. My hands trembled as I opened it. The words hit me like a knife. "You don't deserve her, she's mine now." Signed, with my mother-in-law's name. The room spun, my knees buckled, the paper slipped from my hands. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. She had done it. She had taken my baby. The fear I carried, the warnings I felt in my bones, they were all real. I stumbled to my husband's side, shaking him awake. My voice cracked. "She's gone. Our baby's gone." He jolted upright, confusion in his eyes. But when I handed him the note, his face drained of color. "No, this can't be real," he whispered. I screamed at him. "It's her. It's your mother. She took our baby." But he sat frozen, disbelief consuming him. She couldn't do this. Denial. He wanted to believe his mother was incapable. But I knew in the depths of my soul, she had been planning this for months. I rushed to the phone, dialing the police with shaking fingers. But even as I spoke, part of me felt the world collapsing. How do you explain that your own mother-in-law stole your baby? Would they even believe me? The officers came quickly, asking questions, checking the house, taking the note. They promised to search, to track her down, but their voices felt distant, muffled. All I could hear was the echo of her words. "She's mine now." Family members arrived when the news spread. Whispers filled the rooms, judgmental eyes watched me. Some comforted me, some blamed me. "How could you let this happen? Why didn't you see the signs?" Their words cut deeper than any knife. As if I had invited this nightmare. As if it was my fault. My husband withdrew into silence. He sat with his head in his hands, refusing to meet my eyes. When he finally spoke, his voice broke. "Maybe she just took her to calm down. Maybe she'll bring her back." I stared at him in disbelief. "You think this is temporary? She stole our baby." But he couldn't face it. To him, admitting it meant shattering the image of his mother forever. That night, I lay awake, the house eerily silent without the sound of my baby's cries. My arms ached, empty, desperate. Every creak of the floor made me jump. Every whisper of the wind made me shiver. I imagined my baby crying in some strange room, reaching out for me, wondering why I wasn't there. The thought tore me apart. I clung to her tiny clothes, inhaling the faint scent that still lingered. Tears soaked the fabric, my heart breaking with every breath. I whispered to the night, "I'll get you back. I promise." The betrayal was complete, not from a stranger, but from family, from the woman who was supposed to support me, guide me, protect me. Instead, she had ripped away the most precious piece of my soul. In that moment, I felt something awaken inside me, a fire I had never known. It wasn't just grief anymore, it was rage. Pure burning, unrelenting rage. I vowed, silently, with every ounce of strength left in me, I would not let her win. She may have stolen my baby, but she had awakened something far more dangerous in me. And that was the first spark, the seed of revenge. The next days blurred together. Police cars came and went. Neighbors whispered. The house no longer felt like home. I sat by the phone every second, waiting, hoping, praying. Every ring made my heart jump, only to shatter when it was nothing. The officers told us they were searching, checking cameras, contacting nearby towns. But their eyes, their tone, it was cautious, doubtful. They knew the truth. When family steals a child, the line between crime and custody becomes twisted. I begged them. She's not safe with her, she needs me. But they only nodded, scribbling notes, promising updates. Each hour that passed felt like a knife deeper into my chest. Meanwhile, my husband clung to denial. He said things like, maybe she'll come back tomorrow. Maybe she just needed space. I wanted to scream at him, shake him. How could he not see? How could he still defend her? The divide between us grew. At night, we lay in the same bed but miles apart. He turned away, silent, drowning in shame and confusion. I lay awake, eyes wide open, rage burning in the dark. Every sound haunted me. Every baby I saw in the street made my chest ache. I imagined my little girl crying for me, reaching out, wondering why I had let her go. The guilt was unbearable. But along with the pain, something darker grew inside me. A whisper at first, then louder, sharper. She took your baby, take something from her. I tried to push it away, but the thought returned again and again. She wanted to play the role of mother. She wanted to erase me. Then she would feel the very same emptiness she forced upon me. I began to remember the signs. The way she had watched me feed my baby, her sharp comments, her disapproving sighs. You're holding her wrong. You're spoiling her already. If she were mine, I'd do it better. It all made sense now. Every word had been a warning, a clue. She had always believed the baby was hers, not mine. The betrayal stung deeper when I remembered the nights she had offered to help. When I trusted her to hold my daughter, to soothe her, and all the while, she was planning to steal her away. My husband's silence broke me further. Instead of standing by me, he withdrew into his mother's shadow. He didn't defend me, didn't fight for me. He just sat there, lost between loyalty and truth. One night, unable to take it anymore, I confronted him. My voice shook. She took our baby, and you're still protecting her. Do you even care? He flinched, then whispered, Of course I care, but she's my mother. What if we lose both of them? That sentence shattered something inside me. Lose both of them? As if my child's life and his mother's crime carried equal weight. As if my pain was negotiable. From that night forward, I realized I was alone in this fight. If I wanted my baby back, I could not depend on him, or the police, or anyone. It had to be me. So I started planning, quietly, secretly. I searched old photos, addresses, letters she had written. I traced her habits, the friends she spoke to, the places she loved to visit. Every detail became a piece of the puzzle. The fear was there, always whispering. What if someone finds out it was me? What if I go too far? But the fire inside burned hotter, drowning out the doubt. This wasn't just anger anymore, it was survival. Because she hadn't just taken my baby, she had taken my identity, my purpose, my motherhood. Without my daughter, I was nothing, and I refused to be nothing. I began to dream, not of holding my baby again, but of confronting her, looking her in the eyes, and making her feel the terror she made me feel. I rehearsed the words in my mind. Now you'll know what it means to lose everything. The first move of revenge had to be careful. Not loud, not obvious, but sharp enough to leave a mark. So I started small. I whispered to relatives that she wasn't well, that she was unstable, untrustworthy. I let suspicion grow in the family's mind, a quiet poison, the same poison she had used against me for months. And it worked. Whispers began to turn. Eyes shifted. People who once defended her started questioning her, doubting her. It was only the beginning. The consequences rippled slowly. My husband grew more distant, caught between me and the mother he no longer recognized. Relatives avoided choosing sides. And in the middle of it all, my baby remained missing. The pain was unbearable, but the taste of revenge, it gave me strength. I told myself, this is only the first step. Soon, she'll regret every second of what she's done. Nights stretched endlessly, silence screaming louder than any cry. I would close my eyes and still hear my baby's voice echoing in my head. Every sound, every shadow reminded me she was out there, stolen, hidden. I told myself again and again, you can't give up. You're her mother. Only you can save her. And so, I sharpened my focus. The whispers I had planted about my mother-in-law's instability were working. People questioned her judgment, asked if she was acting strangely, but whispers were not enough. I needed proof. I searched her world like a hunter. Her old journals, notes she had left behind, phone numbers scribbled on scraps of paper. Each detail became a thread, and slowly, those threads began to weave a map of her hideouts, her friends in distant towns, the people who might cover for her. One night, alone at the kitchen table, I traced the lines on a paper, every location circled, every possibility considered. It was risky, dangerous. What if I was wrong? What if she saw me coming? What if the police discovered what I was doing? But then I remembered my baby's face, her tiny fingers curling around mine, and the fear turned into fire. I started visiting places quietly. A bus ride here, a long walk there. I would sit outside shops, markets, parks, hoping to catch a glimpse of them. Days passed with nothing, but I refused to stop. Finally, one evening, my searching eyes found something. In a small town market, I saw a woman with a scarf wrapped tight. Moving quickly, in her arms, a bundle, small, fragile. My heart raced. I knew it was her. I knew it was my baby. I wanted to run, scream, tear her apart, but I froze, my legs rooted to the ground. Because if I moved too fast, if she saw me, she might disappear again. And I couldn't risk losing her twice. So I followed quietly, every step measured, every breath shallow. She walked down an alley into a small apartment building. I stood across the street, staring at the door she entered. My chest ached with longing. My baby was right there, so close. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed hidden in the shadows, watching the window. I saw lights flicker, heard faint cries, and my whole body trembled. It was her, my baby's cry. The sound pierced me and fueled my rage. The next morning, I made a decision. If the police wouldn't help, if my husband wouldn't fight, then I would take her back myself. But to do that, I had to be careful. If someone found out it was me, I could be accused of kidnapping, even though I was the mother. The thought terrified me, but not more than the thought of my baby growing up calling someone else mama. I started preparing. I bought clothes that blended and learned her schedule, watched every time she stepped outside. Sometimes she walked with my baby, sometimes she left her inside. I memorized it all, waiting, planning. Each day, I grew bolder. I even knocked on neighbors' doors, pretending to be lost, just to learn who lived in the building. They told me she was new, quiet, kept to herself. I smiled politely, while inside my blood boiled. The hardest part was keeping it hidden from my husband. He noticed my absences, my late nights. Once, he asked, "Where do you go all the time?" I lied. Just walking, trying to clear my head. He looked at me with suspicion, but said nothing. I knew he was afraid of what I was becoming. And maybe he was right. I wasn't the same woman anymore. The gentle mother, who once rocked her baby to sleep, was gone. Now I was sharper, harder, fueled only by rage and survival. Finally, one evening, the opportunity came. She left the apartment for groceries, the bundle absent from her arms. My heart pounded. This was it, my chance. I climbed the stairwell slowly, my hands trembling. Every step echoed like thunder. When I reached the door, I pressed my ear against it. And then I heard it, soft, sweet, the cry of my baby. Tears filled my eyes. I could almost feel her tiny hands again. I pulled a pin from my hair, forced the lock slowly. The door creaked open. My chest tightened with fear. Inside, the apartment smelled of baby powder milk. And there she was, lying in a crib, reaching out with her small fingers. My whole body shook. I whispered, "Mama's here. I'm here." I picked her up, held her close, and for a moment, the world disappeared. Her warmth, her breath, it healed the cracks in my heart. But that moment didn't last. Footsteps thundered on the stairs. She was coming back. Panic surged through me, my baby pressed against my chest. I looked around desperately, nowhere to run, no time. The door burst open, and there she stood, my mother-in-law, eyes blazing with fury. "Put her down," she hissed, her voice low, dangerous. I clutched tighter, shaking my head. "She's mine, you stole her from me." Her face twisted. "You're weak. You don't deserve her. I can raise her better than you ever could." The words cut me, but also fueled me. Because, in that moment, I knew this was no misunderstanding, no mistake. She had truly believed the baby was hers. And if I wanted my daughter back, I would have to fight for her. Her eyes locked on mine, sharp, wild. The baby in my arms whimpered, sensing the storm between us. I pressed her tighter against my chest. whispering, "It's okay. Mama's here." But my mother-in-law stepped forward, her hands shaking, her voice trembling with rage. "You don't deserve her. You are too young, too weak. You'll ruin her life." Her words sliced through me, but I refused to break. I answered, my voice low but steady. "She is mine, not yours. You cannot take away what was never yours to begin with." The room pulsed with silence, broken only by my baby's cries. Then suddenly, she lunged, her fingers reaching for the child. Instinct took over. I turned my body, shielding my daughter. Her nails scraped my arm, leaving burning lines on my skin, but I didn't let go. We struggled, two women bound by blood, tearing each other apart. Furniture toppled, the crib rattled. I screamed, "You'll never take her from me again." She hissed, "She belongs to me. I love her more than you ever could." That sentence shattered something inside me, because in her madness, I saw the truth. She didn't just steal my baby out of jealousy. She truly believed she was the mother. I knew then, reasoning with her was impossible. This wasn't about love, it was about control, possession, obsession, and I was done being her victim. With all my strength, I shoved her back. She stumbled, crashing into the table, a vase shattering to the floor. Her scream echoed, but I didn't wait. I ran out of the apartment, the baby clutched tight, my breath ragged, down the stairs, out into the street. People turned to stare, their eyes wide. Some whispered, some pointed, and, in that moment, I realized the danger. If someone called the police, if they thought I was kidnapping, everything would collapse. I would lose my baby forever. Fear clawed at my chest, but I couldn't stop running. Behind me, her voice shrieked through the night. "Thief, liar, kidnapper." Her screams twisted the truth, making me the villain, and the crowd began to doubt. I ducked into a side street, my heart pounding. I rocked my baby gently, whispering through tears, "Stay quiet, Mama's got you." But inside, panic boiled. I had her back in my arms. Yet I knew this wasn't over. The next day, she arrived at our home, her face bruised from the fall, but her eyes blazing with fury. She didn't come quietly, she brought neighbors, family, even the police. Her voice dripped with venom as she pointed at me. She broke into my home. She tried to steal my granddaughter. She's dangerous. Every word cut deeper than a knife. I wanted to scream the truth, but I saw the doubt in their eyes. Even the officers looked at me carefully, uncertain.
And in that moment,
I realized how fragile my world was. One wrong word, one wrong step, and I could lose everything. I swallowed my rage, forced my voice to remain calm. She is my daughter. I never gave her away. She was stolen from me. But she laughed. Bitter, cruel. "You can't prove it. Everyone knows you're unstable. You can't even handle motherhood." Her lies spread like poison. And for a moment, I saw even my husband hesitate, his eyes darting between us, torn, unsure of who to believe. That betrayal burned worse than fire. I knew then if I wanted to keep my daughter, I couldn't rely on anyone, not even him. It had to be me, and me alone. That night, when the house was finally silent, I held my baby close. I whispered, "I'll protect you no matter what it takes." And in my heart, a seed of revenge bloomed. I wouldn't just take my baby back. I would destroy her lies, strip her mask, make the world see her true face. I would make sure no one ever trusted her again. The plan began small. I gathered her letters, the note she left on the night she stole my baby. I copied her handwriting, her words, her confessions of, "I'm the real mother now." I kept them hidden, waiting for the right moment. Then, I reached out to people she trusted, neighbors, church friends, distant relatives. I whispered what I had discovered, that she was unstable, dangerous, obsessed with replacing me. At first, they looked doubtful. But when I showed them the note, their faces changed. Doubt grew like fire spreading through dry grass. And soon, the whispers became louder. The woman they once respected, trusted, now looked strange to them, unsteady. But whispers were not enough. I needed to push her, force her into showing her true self. So I set the trap. I invited her over. Acting calm, pretending to surrender, I told her, "If you think you love her more, maybe we should talk. Maybe we should share her." Her eyes lit up, her mask slipping, and right there in front of witnesses she snapped, "She is mine, all mine. You'll never be her mother, never." Gasps filled the room. Faces turned pale. The truth poured out of her like poison. And for the first time, I saw her cornered, exposed. My heart thundered. I had drawn the first real blood in this war. She looked at me with pure hatred. But the people around her now saw what I always knew. She wasn't a savior, she was a thief. And though I still trembled with fear, I also felt something new. For the first time since my baby was stolen, I felt powerful. The whispers had spread. Her friends no longer greeted her with warmth. Neighbors avoided her eyes. Even family looked at her differently now, cautious, suspicious. I watched quietly, every shift in expression, every uneasy silence. My plan was working, but she was not going to surrender easily. The woman who stole my child was too proud, too stubborn, too blind to her own madness. And I knew if cornered, she would fight harder. One evening, she arrived at our home, uninvited. Her footsteps were sharp, echoing across the wooden floor. Her eyes were red, furious. She slammed her purse on the table. Her voice cracked like thunder. You think you've won? You think a few whispers will destroy me? I am her mother, not you. Her words rattled through the room. The baby stirred in my arms, and I gently rocked her back to sleep, whispering, "Sure, Mama's here." I lifted my gaze, calm but cold. No, you are not her mother. You never were. You never will be. For a moment, silence stretched between us. Her chest heaved, her hands trembled, and then she laughed, a sharp, broken sound. Do you know why I took her? Because you don't deserve her. Because you're weak. Because you don't even see how everyone doubts you. Even your husband. My heart clenched. I turned my eyes toward him, and I saw it. Hesitation, fear. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The betrayal struck again, sharp as knives. Even now, even after everything, he was still caught in her web. I swallowed my pain, my voice steady but low. You're wrong. She's mine, and I will protect her, even if I have to protect her from you. Her smile twisted, cruel, venomous. Protect her? You can't even protect yourself. You think people believe you? They see the cracks. They see how unfit you are. They pity you. That's why she belongs to me. Her words slithered into the air like poison. But this time, I didn't flinch. I rose slowly, holding my daughter tight against my chest. And I faced her fully, my voice calm, deliberate. Then show them. Show them right here. Right now, how much you love her. Let them see. She blinked, confused, unsteady. And then, in her desperation, she stepped closer, reaching for the baby again. But before she could touch her, I turned, and there they were, standing in the doorway, neighbors, relatives, witnesses. Every face tense, every eye fixed on her. Her hand froze midair. Her lips parted. She looked around the room, realizing too late she had been trapped. Gasps rippled through the silence. One voice whispered, "She really believes it. She thinks the baby is hers." Another murmured, "She's not well, this is dangerous." The mother-in-law's face twisted in panic. "No, they don't understand. She's lying. She's trying to ruin me." But the words no longer held power, not when her obsession had just been exposed so clearly. I stepped closer, my eyes never leaving hers. You wanted them to see the truth. Now they do. Her breathing quickened. Her hands shook. Her gaze darted from face to face, searching for someone to believe her. But there was only silence. And for the first time, I saw it, fear in her eyes. She stumbled back, her voice cracking. "You'll regret this. I'll make you regret this." But even as she spoke, I knew the balance had shifted. The power was no longer hers. It was mine. That night, as I held my daughter close, I felt the storm building. The final confrontation was coming, and when it did, there would be no going back. Because revenge, once it begins, cannot be undone. After that night, the whispers turned into conversations. The conversations became warnings, and slowly, the weight of truth fell on her shoulders, crushing her carefully built lies. But a woman like her does not surrender quietly. She began to fight back. She called relatives, she cried over the phone, painting herself as the victim. "She's cruel. She keeps me away from my granddaughter. She twists everything I say." Some listened, some doubted, but I could hear the cracks in her voice, desperation bleeding through, and I knew she was unraveling. One afternoon, I returned home with groceries, and the door was ajar. My heart lurched. I rushed inside. The crib was empty. Again, panic surged, my vision blurred. I tore through the rooms calling her name. "Where's she? Where's my baby?" And then, I found them. My mother-in-law sat in the rocking chair, cradling the baby against her chest, humming softly like a lullaby from a world that wasn't hers. Her eyes lifted slowly. A calm smile spread across her face. "See? She's peaceful with me. She belongs here, not with you." Anger erupted inside me, white-hot, uncontrollable. I stepped forward, my voice sharp. "Give her back, right now." She shook her head, clutching the baby tighter. "No. She cries with you. She suffers with you. But look at her now, calm, happy. She knows. I'm her real mother." The words pierced deep, but rage drowned the pain. I reached out, my voice breaking. "You're sick. You're delusional. This ends now." Her eyes glistened, but not with shame, with defiance. "No, you're the one who doesn't see. I raised your husband. I built this family. Without me, you'd be nothing. She's mine because everything you have comes from me." The baby whimpered softly, as though sensing the storm between us. I steadied my hands, steadying my voice. She is not your possession. She is my child, and you will never take her from me again. I lunged forward. Her grip tightened. She pulled back. The baby's cry tore through the room like glass shattering. The sound froze us both. Her arms trembled. Her eyes flickered with something. Fear? Guilt? Madness? I whispered, softer this time. Listen to her. You're scaring her. You're hurting her. Please give her back. For the first time, hesitation cracked through her rage. Her gaze dropped to the baby, to the tears streaming down her tiny cheeks. Her lips trembled, but instead of softening, her anger twisted into something darker. She hissed, "If I can't have her, then no one will." My blood froze. Her grip shifted, too tight, too dangerous. I felt terror rip through me, primal, unstoppable. And in that moment, instinct took over. I surged forward, wrenching the baby from her arms with every ounce of strength in me. She fought, nails clawing, voice screaming, "She's mine! She's mine!" But my arms wrapped around my daughter like steel. I shielded her, stepping back, gasping for air. Neighbors burst into the doorway, drawn by the cries. They froze at the scene, my mother-in-law's wild eyes, my trembling hands clutching the baby. Someone shouted, "Call the police." Another voice snapped, "She's dangerous." Her eyes darted wildly. She looked at me, then at them. Her voice cracked, desperate, broken. "No, you don't understand. She's my baby." But no one believed her anymore. The illusion had shattered. The truth stood bare before everyone. Police sirens wailed in the distance. She sank to her knees, sobbing. Her hands reached out, empty, trembling. "Please don't take her from me. She's all I have." And in that moment, I saw not a monster, but a broken woman, consumed by obsession, blinded by loss. But pity could not erase the danger she had become. The officers arrived, firm voices filling the house. They pulled her up, gently but firmly. Her cries echoed through the room, desperate, haunting. "She's mine. She's mine." And as they led her away, my heart pounded with a mixture of relief and something else, something heavier, because revenge had been my plan. But what I saw now was destruction. Not just hers, but mine too. I held my daughter tight, whispering into her hair, "It's over. You're safe now. I promise." But deep inside, I knew it wasn't over, because revenge leaves scars, and mine had only just begun to show. The police car pulled away that night, red and blue lights fading into the distance. I stood on the porch, clutching my daughter so tight. I could feel her heartbeat against mine. And though relief washed over me, something still burned inside. It wasn't enough. She had tried to steal my baby, not once, but twice. She had lied, manipulated, poisoned my marriage, and nearly destroyed me. If I let her go quietly, she would find a way back. She would twist the story. She would crawl her way back into our lives, and the cycle would begin again. No, it had to end. Permanently. The next days blurred into a storm of questions and whispers. The police took statements, neighbors whispered behind closed doors. My husband sat silent, broken between his loyalty to me and the woman who raised him. He asked me once, his voice small, "Do you really have to press charges?" "She's my mother. She's old." She was confused. I looked at him, tears stinging my eyes, and whispered back, "Confusion doesn't steal babies. Confusion doesn't write notes saying I don't deserve her. Confusion doesn't threaten to hurt a child." Silence. He had no answer. And in that silence, I found my strength. I pressed charges. The trial began weeks later, a cold, sterile courtroom filled with strangers judging our private hell. She sat at the defense table, her hair combed neatly, her dress plain and gray, but her eyes still burned with that dangerous mix of obsession and denial. When the prosecutor called me to testify, my hands trembled as I took the stand. I looked at the jury, at the judge, at the woman who had nearly stolen my soul, and I told the truth. Every detail, every sleepless night, every manipulation, every attempt to take my baby. I told them about the note, her handwriting etched into my nightmares. I told them about finding her rocking my daughter like she was her own, and I told them about the moment she hissed, "If I can't have her, then no one will." Gasps filled the courtroom. The weight of my words hung heavy in the air. When her lawyer tried to defend her, painting her as a grieving grandmother, a woman who had simply lost her way, I looked directly at her and spoke clearly. She didn't lose her way. She lost her soul, and she tried to take mine with it. For the first time, she looked away. The verdict came swiftly. Guilty of attempted kidnapping. Restraining order granted. No contact allowed. The gavel struck, and it was done. She turned in her seat, her eyes locking onto mine one last time. Her lips parted, whispering words only I could hear. "This isn't over." A A chill ran through me, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I whispered back, "Yes, it is." And in that moment, the revenge I had been carrying, the fire that had been burning inside me for so long, finally dimmed. Because it wasn't just about punishing her anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, my baby, my peace. When we left the courthouse, reporters crowded us, cameras flashing, microphones shoved in our faces. I held my daughter close, shielding her from the chaos. And for once, I didn't care what people thought. The truth was out. The danger was gone. The cycle was broken. That night, I stood in the nursery, rocking my daughter to sleep, the same chair my mother-in-law had once claimed as her throne. Now mine. Truly mine. I whispered softly into the quiet room. "No one will ever take you from me again. I promise." And those scars remained, though whispers of betrayal lingered in the corners of my mind. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Peace. The revenge was complete. After the verdict was read and the gavel struck its final sound, life moved forward, but not in the way I expected. I thought revenge would taste sweet, like a final victory after years of torment. But the truth is, revenge leaves a strange aftertaste. One part relief, another part emptiness. The days that followed were quiet, too quiet sometimes. No phone calls from her, no shadow lurking outside my window, no sudden footsteps in the hallway. The silence should have been comforting, but it carried a weight all its own. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, certain that she was still out there, watching. Even though the law said she couldn't come near us, my mind still replayed her last words. "This isn't over." For weeks, I kept checking locks twice, sometimes 3 times, peeking in on my baby every few hours, just to make sure she was really there. Fear had carved itself so deeply into me that even when the threat was gone, the scar remained. And yet there was also peace, holding my daughter without fear, tucking her into bed without the sound of footsteps behind me, cooking dinner without wondering if the door would burst open. Those small moments felt like tiny victories. My husband struggled in his own way. He didn't visit his mother in prison, but I could see the war inside him. She was still his mother, no matter how twisted her choices had been. And sometimes, late at night, I would hear him crying quietly, trying not to wake me. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to remind him that none of this was his fault. But another part of me still burned with anger at how blind he had been. How many times had I warned him? How many times had I begged him to see what I saw? And yet he had brushed it off until it was nearly too late. Trust, once broken, doesn't come back easily. Our marriage was different after that. Not destroyed, but scarred. We spoke less, and when we did, there was always something unspoken lingering between us. The shadow of betrayal didn't just belong to his mother. It belonged to him too. Still, we tried. For the sake of our child, we tried to build something steady again. I threw myself into motherhood, into routines, into creating a home that felt safe. And slowly, piece by piece, I stitched my life back together. But I never forgot. Even years later, when my daughter grew old enough to ask questions, when she pointed at a picture of her grandmother and asked, "Mommy, who is she?" my heart clenched. What do you say to a child? How do you explain that the person smiling in that photo once tried to steal her away forever? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I tucked the photo into a box and placed it high on a shelf. Some truths, I realized, could wait. And in the quiet of my own thoughts, I reflected. Revenge gave me safety, yes. It gave me justice, yes. But it didn't erase the pain. It didn't heal the nights I spent sobbing on the floor. It didn't erase the image of that empty crib. What it did was create space. Space for healing. Space for trust to regrow, even if only in fragile pieces. I realized then revenge isn't about destroying the other person. It's about reclaiming yourself. Taking back what was stolen. Taking back your voice, your strength, your sanity. And in that way, yes, revenge satisfied me. Not because she was punished, but because I was free. I no longer looked over my shoulder. I no longer lived in the shadows of someone else's obsession. I stood tall, holding my daughter's hand, knowing we had survived something most families never could imagine. The scars remain, yes. They always will. But scars are proof of survival, not weakness. One evening, years later, I rocked my daughter to sleep again. Her long eyelashes brushed against her cheeks, her tiny hand curled around mine, and I whispered, not just to her, but to myself, "You are safe, you are loved, and you are mine." Tears slid down my face, but this time, they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of gratitude, because no matter how dark the storm had been, we had come out the other side. And in that quiet, I finally felt the one thing I thought I'd lost forever: peace. Thank you for listening to my story. Sometimes sharing pain helps us heal, and maybe it touched a part of you too. If you've ever faced betrayal or fought to protect someone you love, you know how heavy those scars can feel. You're not alone. This channel is a place for stories, truth, and reflection. If you'd like to hear more, stay with me by subscribing and share your thoughts below. Your story matters, and I'd love to hear it.